You are now tuned into the Black Law Students Association of Canada's YouTube.
So welcome to the BLSA Canada Fireside Chat Series. My name is Mirabelle Harris-Eze, and I am the BLSA Canada National Director of Communications. And I'm also a 2L at the University of Calgary Faculty of Law. Today, I am joined by Raphael Tachie, a prolific volunteer, partner, head of Gowling's Private Client Services Group in Vancouver, and currently the president of the Canadian Association of Black Lawyers. We're really honored to have you with us today, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I look forward to our chat.
So firstly, we just would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us maybe like a little bit of a fun fact or law school, like anything that you'd like to say.
So I'm Raphael Tachie. I'm the current president of the Canadian Association of Black Lawyers. Fun fact. The only thing that's dominating my life right now is my little 19-month-old daughter, who is a lot of fun, older than she appears to be. Probably that's the focus of the joy of my life right now.
I feel like started walking yet. I feel like that's usually.
Yeah, she's walking, she's running around. She thinks she's talking, but she's really not talking yet. So she'll come and grab me and point at something and start telling me about it. We have a photo of her framed and as a baby, and she always goes there and says baby, and I don't think she realizes it's her. It's actually really cute.
Aww. No, kids are always adorable. I'm like, yeah, and like my second question, but even before then, like I know, like I've read a little bit up on you and everything like that, and I know that you were pretty interested in legal dramas, and that potentially was something that inspired you to like pursue law. Was that the case? Is that still the case now, and that like you still like watching legal dramas and stuff like that?
I don't think I've watched one in a long time. I think the last one I watched, do I even remember? No, I think Boston Legal is probably where I stopped. So maybe that's telling you how old I am now, but I just don't have that much time. But it's funny because I got into those shows because I thought they were interesting. But more importantly, I think it just reminded me that lawyers were problem solvers. And for me, that was really the interesting part. I didn't really clue in at the time why I was into them. It was later on when I was trying to figure out what to do with my life and my career when I thought, there must be a reason why you like those shows so much. That kind of led me to my journey in law.
That's really cool. So my second question, Black people are underrepresented in a variety of industries and fields, and in particular in the field of law. And so we were wondering if you had any role models to look up to when you first considered a career in law. How did you come in contact with them, if so? And what do you recommend perhaps for students, like in terms of getting those role models?
I didn't have one before coming into law, but since I've been into it, I've been very lucky to have happy accidents. A lot of my role models initially tended to be senior to me. Now they tend to be colleagues and friends, and sometimes junior to me. What I've realized is that you have to have the humility to know what you don't know, and to then seek people out that can help. And so I've had, friends in law school that one good friend of mine who sat beside me in law school, I think on our first or second day in class, happened to know a lot more about law because her family were lawyers and I've been in the profession. And just talking to her about, my interest in law, what I wanted to do, opened up my horizon to what I could do and the possibilities that law could offer me. I had started off thinking that I was going to be a criminal lawyer or an immigration lawyer because that's all I knew. And then, sitting beside somebody and being open to a conversation and being humble to know that I didn't know anything, started the ball rolling in understanding what corporate law would be, that corporate law was an option for somebody like me. I've had the opportunity to meet people like Arlene Huggins when I was a student, when she was on the CABL board, and I was, I think I was BLSA president at the time, just, wanting to share her experiences with me. Having conversations with, a lot of other lawyers that have come my way who have been really generous. Whether Black or non-Black, I've been willing to ask questions and listen and try and craft a journey that was unfamiliar to me at the beginning. But slowly, you learn from others and you try and figure out what people have done that's worked.
That's really important. Like you don't know what you don't know. And so I guess keeping that in mind and reaching out is really important. And so you're a really prolific and varied volunteer. Just reading through your profile and the amount of things that you volunteered on and boards and XYZ. So we were wondering, how do you approach time management? Why do you think it's so important to stay active in your community?
Time management is difficult. I think what I've been good at is being disciplined about what I'm going to focus my attention on at any particular time. And so being to say, okay, my day, I have 9 hours today. I'm going to spend 2 hours on this, 2 hours on that, an hour and a half on this. That doesn't always work because sometimes emergencies show up and your day can be unpredictable. But what I try to do is every day try to move the ball on things that I care about forward so that I'm not always stagnating. I try not to say, okay, next week I'm going to work on this thing and that's all I'm going to do all day. It's saying, okay, I can dedicate an hour to this. Let me move it to the next stage. I can dedicate 2 hours to that project. I tend to be disciplined on, I give my days of the week themes. And so Mondays are operational days, right? I check, it's like making sure I catch up on my emails, making sure that I respond to calendar invites and things like that. And so, and I try to give that day a theme and I try to dedicate a significant portion of my day to that theme. Doesn't mean that I still have to be flexible in terms of unpredictable nature of things, client work. But I try to make sure that 3 or 4 hours of my day is focused on that theme of the day. Just so that I can move that ball forward that day. It means I might not come back to it. I might not be diligent about doing that work the rest of that week or whenever but I try to be really intentional about how I spend my day. That's the best advice I can give. I've had really horrible experiences not managing my time properly. And so I'm very intentional and diligent about doing that now.
No, like I'm sure like it must be so difficult when you're part of so many things to be able to prioritize and figure that out. And like even or sorry, keep going.
I was gonna say what I also say, what I've tried to do is on everything that I'm doing, what is my critical role in it? Do I have to be the person that knows everything, that does everything? And sometimes it's not the case, right? Other times it is, okay, I'm going to this meeting, I have to read everything, I have to be the person that's on top of all my materials because of the nature of the meeting or the topic or the whatever I'm doing in that moment. And so some things require full attention and full effort and maximum effort. And I try to do that and give that. And then some things I have to be disciplined about. I can only give this an hour of my time before I go in. I just need to be familiar with the topic. I can listen, I can take notes. I try to make sure that I'm focused and present doing those things so that I don't have to go back and revisit what I've heard or what I was in. I try to listen, ask questions, get to understand it better, and then walk away with what I need to. But it's also not just how you manage your time, it's also really having a good understanding of what the effort level you need for different things are.
Really important. There's only 24 hours in a day, so like it's good to learn earlier on, I would hope, for students. So another question, what is an experience, whether that's like a particular class, event, or activity that you think that all law students should experience or have during law school?
I think a financial literacy course, especially Black students, and especially all students that are coming from not a place of privilege, if you're not coming from wealth. I find that law school requires a lot of us to go into debt. A lot of us go into debt with the expectation that at some point we're going to make the money back and repay that debt and build a life for ourselves. We don't always have the knowledge about how we manage the money or how even we manage the debt, right? So how do you manage the debt? How do you pay it back in a responsible way that helps you? That can be really positive force in your life if you deal with it properly. So how do you do that? How do you leverage that to say build wealth? Or how do you repay bad debt and focus on accumulating good debt to amplify your financial ability? We don't learn that as law students. A lot of us end up opening our own practices. We don't always have the knowledge about the fact that opening your own practice is both a business and practicing law as a profession, and those two things go together. We have to have the ability to do that. And so to me, one of my focus as CABL President has been to introduce a concept of financial literacy and financial education to our members. it's something that I came to later in my career, and I wish I had known way before.
That's so relevant. Like my mom works in wealth management, like finance and everything like that. So I like really early on, she always stressed like the power of compound interest and debt and like how to leverage. And yeah, it's really important.
And the thing is, compound interest works the opposite way, right? When you have debt that you're only paying the minimum interest on, it works the opposite way. And for a lot of us, we learned that, we come to that late, that knowledge. You have the benefit of having somebody that helps you understand that. A lot of us, we come to that late, and that can be challenging for, especially later in your career.
Like, I don't know if it would be like workshops or like seminars, but law schools should have some sort of component of that in the law.
I agree. And for CABL, that's why we partnered with TDE to do financial literacy education. We're hoping to do that a lot more with not just TDE, but other partners as well, to try and bring that information into our world so that our members from early on, whether you're a student or you are, a seasoned lawyer, that there's information and access to information. I think we believe our members are really, are brilliant people, are smart people. Once they have the information, they can apply it. It's a question of making that access to information easy in digestible manner, so busy professionals can still take advantage of that.
So another question, you worked in a number of different fields, from wills and trusts, like to insurance, and for students still trying to figure out what exactly they want to do with the rest of their lives or what area they want to practice in. Do you have any advice on how to decide or how to figure it all out, I guess?
I wish I knew, but I can only tell you about my journey and how I discovered mine was, it was a bit of a happy accident, right? So I think after articling, Blake's was trying to figure out where to put me, and they happened to put me in estates and trusts. I had never done it before. I had never been exposed to it. I enjoyed it once I started doing it. As a first-year associate, just out of articling, I was able to meet clients and go to a client's house and interview them and get a sense of who they were, what they wanted to, and it was just a way of getting to know the client in such a personal way. And it was a happy meeting. The client wasn't upset of anything. It was, okay, I've built this wealth. I'm thinking of how to give it away. Like, that's what a meeting to have with a client. And so to me, that was really attractive. And I know you said I've worked in different areas, but really that's all I've done. It's just in different contexts. What I got to understand, and especially after I joined Bullhauser in 2011, where I became part of I thought one of the preeminent estates and trusts and wealth management law firm practice groups in Canada. I came to appreciate how all the different components that go into estate planning, high net worth planning is. I got to meet accountants that were doing really high level work, investment advisors, insurance advisors, and it piqued my curiosity. And I think maybe to answer your question, the piece I'll give people is be curious about things. And if you are, you'll find this, and something piques your curiosity, chase that. For me, that led me to, I need a business degree. I need to understand how this industry works. And so I ended up going to do an MBA. And then when I was doing that, I had the opportunity to work at Manulife. And they were launching a new private wealth offer in Vancouver. So what I did with my MBA projects was work on what my company was doing at the time so that I could understand how I fit into it better. That experience was immeasurable. And I think the benefit of doing that reverberates my career today, in the sense that I spent a year basically doing a deep dive of the wealth management industry, how the lawyers fit into it, how the accountants fit into it, where the industry was going, where were the big banks going, where were the insurance companies going, and thinking, somebody with my skill set, if I'm in this industry, how could I craft a career? How could I craft something that anticipates where the industry is going? I think I got lucky, and that it gave me a sense of what the business, I made a bit of assumption and a bit of judgment call, but where I thought the industry was going, but it allowed me to find opportunities that fit those, that leverage to where I thought the industry was going. And I've been very lucky that I still think it's paying off in many ways for me now.
And for students who perhaps like they've tried one thing and they're like, okay, maybe not this, and maybe this instead? Like, what advice, I guess, do you have, even though it's maybe not that applicable here, but in terms of like transferring or figuring out, okay, maybe if it's not that, then this, that whole
I
process?
think be brave and be bold. If you don't like something, try the thing that scares you. I am a big believer in that. And I had to learn that. Somebody had to teach me that. In that, I think by nature, a lot of people that end up in law are risk averse. And so we want to find the thing that is least risky and more interesting. But if something's really interesting to you and it scares you a little bit, it's probably a good thing. I think it's because it's stretching you. At least that's the attitude I've tried to take in my career decisions now, is I want to take the thing that stretches me, that makes me do the thing that I think is just beyond reach. And I think, at least I'll speak for myself, I'll speak for others, that I want to dream bigger than my risk appetite normally lets me, right? I want to be able to say, can I do this thing? Can I take that big, bold step? Especially if I'm curious about it and I'm interested in it. And I know that if it scares me a little bit, it means I have to prepare for it. It means I have to work harder, and I'm naturally going to do that. And so it's really about curiosity. It's more about interest. It's about, can I learn the thing even if I don't know it? And then try to be bold and do the thing that scares me a little bit.
That's really great advice. Yeah, like people that are risk averse we tend to be a lot more risk averse, at least from the students that I've talked to in law school. So yeah, I think
that's a good reason for it. If you're not coming from wealth and you're taking a bunch of debt, sometimes you want to be careful. You want to be careful that you don't screw it up. I get that. I was wired exactly the same way, but I think what that ends up doing, sometimes it puts a ceiling on our ambition. And that's the piece that I would encourage students to see beyond.
And another issue is potentially, like, there's law students that are graduating this year and they're still trying to figure everything out, but they want to help the future generations coming out before them, and so, or after them, I suppose. And so for you, like, what advice do you have if you were currently a Black law student in your law school journey? What kind of legacy would you want to leave behind for other current or upcoming law students? Maybe make a better experience for them or make it a little bit easier somehow.
I mean, I'm a big believer in you lift as you climb, right? So what I've tried to do in my career is to try and find pathways to lift others as I try to climb. And I think that ethos is, if you're a BLSA member, if you're on the BLSA executive, you're doing that already, right? It is, how do I make this path a little bit easier for the next person that comes beyond me or comes after me? And I found that I've met people that were doing that for me when I started out, and I've tried to pay that forward. I see that in a lot of the BLSA students I meet. A lot of them are saying, what can I do? You know, how do I lift the next person up? How do Black future lawyers is an example of that, you know, students saying, how do I make it easier for somebody else to see law as an option? Also Canada and your moots and your conferences and your galas, and you're moving it from country, province to province. It's a way of highlighting and showcasing that this journey is possible for members of our community that might not see that. I think it's sad when you meet a Black child that doesn't have any ambition because they don't see beyond their circumstance. To me, that's the difficulty. But for students, I think if you're in law school, you're already privileged. It means you have high level education than most people in the population. Putting yourself out there, to me, that is the interesting part. Putting yourself out there as a role model, as a mentor, as, you know, somebody that can lift somebody else up. It's, to me, the important thing that students can do.
Yeah, and like just being there too. I mean, with representation, like I'm thinking of that example, that young Black kid that might not have that ambition because they don't think that they can do it. Yeah, representation is really important. Keeping in mind your work through CABL and how the organizations and mission that you have, how can law school organizations and even organizations like ours, BLSA, CABL, address or reduce barriers for Black students in entering the legal profession and being part of the legal profession throughout their entire careers? Yeah, like what advice do you think you have for organizations at large trying to make things better?
I think being intentional, right? and this, I don't think this is, and this is not particular to BLSA cable, I think, but a lot of organizations and institutions in our profession talk a really good talk. It's only until recently that you're starting to see concrete actions. And so my view is that be intentional, have concrete actions about what you're going to do that's going to move the dial forward, that's going to make this profession more welcoming to faces like ours. I think that if we are going to talk the talk, then there's an opportunity to actually, let's put our effort, let's put our dollars, let's put our privilege, let's put whatever we bring to the table, let's put that forward in a way, in a concrete action that makes sense. For me, and I'll take this opportunity to plug a little bit of what CABL's about to do, and I hope BLSA members will sign up. You get free membership with CABL, and then please inform this. We are going through a process of re-envisioning what CABL does. We've been around for 25 years. We've done a lot of great things. Our community continues to ask us to do more. The question we're asking ourselves is, how do we be intentional about the things that we're doing? How do we be more thoughtful about where we're going? And so we're going through a process of reviewing everything that we're doing, and then saying, what are the things that we want to be able to do, we do well and we want to keep doing? What are the new things that we're taking on that we should be doing? What are the things we should leave for other organizations to do? Part of that is, I believe in next week, we're about to launch a membership survey, where we're going to go to our members and say, you tell us what you think we should be doing. You direct where CABL is going. So I would invite BLSA members who are hopefully going to be CABL members soon to sign up. You sign up your free membership as a student and inform that process so that you can be part of the survey. Your voice can be heard. That's our way of being intentional about what we're going to do going forward.
That's amazing. And like, I'll share it on all our social media and like everywhere. Like, I think that feedback is great to figure out the direction and everything and how to better serve and also continue to serve the community. And so I'd like to just give you a final word to say anything to our students you want them to know and take to heart, any advice or any story or anecdote, anything.
I don't know if I have anything to say other than I was BLSA president in 2008. And it's incredibly amazing to see where BLSA is now in 2022. I know the conference is coming to Vancouver this year. The last time was in Vancouver. That was myself, Zara, Karen Ameya, a few of us that brought it, and it was really exciting. It was exhausting, but I couldn't have imagined at that time what BLSA Canada would look like. And I've just been incredibly amazed about the work you're doing. I'm so gratified you're coming back to Vancouver. I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible. And for me, I think BLSA is in good hands. Hopefully you all join CABL, and if you do, then CABL is incredible. CABL's future is incredible, and I'm very excited to see what you're doing next. I'm just a fan, and I appreciate it very much. All the work that you guys are doing.
Like, thank you so much. Like, we stand on the shoulders of giants. Like, so it's a huge compliment. I'm definitely going to take that back, and everyone will be really excited.
I've seen, I saw Josh Loco and what he was doing. I saw Stephanie Jules. I've been paying attention from afar. Tiana, Carrie-Ann. It's just gone. You've gone from strength to strength. I look at the Jules Alexander mood, and my year was the first year we put on the mood, and it was not anything organized as the way you guys have it now. And I look at it from afar and say, kudos. It's just, you took kernels and you made them into, full bloom. You turn them into full bloom plants and flowers, and I'm just very proud of what BLSA is doing.
Oh, thank you. Like, here's to the future, and hopefully, I don't know, the next people coming next can continue and keep up the good work and everything. But yeah, thank you so much again for joining today's BLSA Canada Fireside Chat. It was really great hearing from you, and your impact is huge, whether it's through your work, your career, your advocacy. Like, it's just ridiculous. And I'm really happy that you took the time out of your very busy schedule to talk with me. So yeah, I can't stress how important this is going to be for Black law students across Canada. And thank you so much again.
Thank you, Mirabelle. Thank you for having me.